In episode 3, after a long journey, they finally arrived at the planet, but their ship is so destroyed that they're coming in slow and all over the place. It's forcing the ship to really heat up, and it's making landing the ship very, very difficult. The Mandalorian does get some help from the frog, and it seems like they're about to land this thing safely, when all of a sudden one of the engines goes out, forcing the ship into the water. They get fished out by the local fishermen, and it forces the Mandalorian to have to pay to get the ship fixed. And the Mon Calamari that's supposed to fix the ship isn't exactly reassuring, just saying, yeah, I'll make it fly. The frog, meanwhile, has excitedly located her husband, and the husband profusely thanks the Mandalorian for delivering his wife safely to the planet. And maybe more importantly, delivering the eggs safely. The husband tells him to head to the inn, and that's where he can find some people of his own kind. But unbeknownst to the Mandalorian, he's actually being watched by someone who disappears as quickly as they showed up. Although, once again, the Mandalorian doesn't know this, so he just heads off to the tavern, where he sits down to find out where his own kind are. But the tavern owner is a little annoyed because his rule is if you sit down, you have to eat something, and the Mandalorian doesn't want to eat anything. He just wants to get food for the child. He does tell the owner, however, I'm willing to pay for information. Do you know of anybody that are my kind? And he tells him, yeah, actually, others with Beskar have been through here. And he tells him that he knows somebody who might help. He goes over to another table and gets that guy. And it's a fisherman who tells him, yeah, I know where Mandalorians are. It's a few-hour trip, but it's going to cost you. And the Mandalorian's willing to pay, so the Mandalorian hops on the guy's ship, and the fishing vessel takes off. The fisherman asks the Mandalorian, have you ever seen a Mambacore eat? And tells him that it's quite a sight, and maybe the child would want to watch. And as the fishermen are dropping down fish into the tank, the fisherman tells the Mandalorian, this is going to be quite a sight. We haven't fed her all day. But then at the last minute, the fisherman kicks the child's pod into the water, and the Mandalorian frantically jumps in to save the child, but it's too late. Whatever was in that fish tank swallows the child's pod. And the fisherman trapped the Mandalorian in there because the whole time, this was an ambush set up to steal the Mandalorian's Beskar. But luckily for the Mandalorian, the person that was watching him from a distance was actually a Mandalorian. And Mando is saved by 3 other of his kind. They fight off the fisherman, save the Mandalorian, and even get the child back. As he's holding the child, he tells him, thank God, I've been looking for you guys for a while now. I've been entrusted with taking this child back to, but he stops his train of thought because the Mandalorians that are standing in front of him have taken off their helmets, and that's a big no-no. He demands to know, where did you get that armor? But their leader, a woman by the name of Bo-Katan Kryze, tells him that the armor's been in her family for 3 generations. And he scolds them, saying, you guys aren't Mandalorian, you're not supposed to take your helmet off. And one of the Mandalorians that's standing next to Bo-Katan, a guy named Heiress, says, oh, he's one of them. And the Mandalorian says, one of what? She explains that she was born in Mandalore and fought in the Purge, and she's the last of her line. And the Mandalorian is something that they refer to as a child of the Watch. They're like a cult of religious zealots that broke away from the society in order to reestablish the ancient way. But the Mandalorian doesn't take too kindly to hearing that he's a part of a cult, and he tells her there's only one way, and he flies off. He lands on the shore and watches the Mandalorians, all 3 of them, destroy the ship and fly off. As the Mandalorian is walking around the harbor, he gets approached by the fisherman's brother and a bunch of other fishermen. And they want vengeance for the fact that they think that the Mandalorian killed the same guy who was actually trying to ambush him. They tell the Mandalorian, you killed our brother, now we're going to kill your pet, meaning the child. But then, right before they actually square off, the 3 Mandalorians from before fly out from the sky, and Bo-Katan says, he didn't kill your brother, I did. And they quickly wipe all of these fishermen out. They then ask the Mandalorian, hey, can we at least buy you a drink and explain ourselves? So the group heads into the local tavern. Bo-Katan explains that they're currently located in a black market port. At the moment, they're buying and selling all of the things from their own planet of Mandalore. And the reason Bo-Katan and her group are there is because they're re-seizing all of the weapons that they're selling, with the plan that they're going to use those weapons to retake Mandalore. And once they do that, they can seat any Mandalore on the throne. Although it seems like Bo-Katan has a pretty good idea of who she wants on the throne. Okay, so that's their plan, and the Mandalorian explains his plan with the child getting him back to his own people. And in order to do that, he needs to find the Jedi. So he tells them, I was hoping you guys could help me because it's part of our creed. And Bo-Katan says, okay, I can lead you to a Jedi, but first, we need your help. They head outside and are looking at an Imperial freighter, and Bo-Katan explains that inside that freighter is loaded with weapons, and they want those weapons. So the group comes up with a plan on how to get aboard the ship. So before going on this mission, the Mandalorian heads to the frog's house, drops the child off to be watched, and then he goes and helps Bo-Katan's group. And once the freighter takes off, the Mandalorians, using their jetpacks, hop on top and start taking out stormtroopers. It's pretty easy for them to do, but the commotion does alert the cockpit that they're being attacked by, quote, pirates. And because of this, they go into a lockdown. Although that doesn't prove much good. The Mandalorians are quickly moving through the ship like a hot knife through butter. They get to the part of the ship where all the guns are held, and once the door opens, the Imperial captain tells them to close the doors immediately. He doesn't want any of that. And he thinks he's in the clear. He's really proud of himself. Unfortunately, he's unaware that the Mandalorians can open up the cargo bay, and they do that with the Imperial captain and all of these stormtroopers flying out of it. Bo-Katan grabs a radio and radios to the captain in the cockpit that they have the weapons and imagine what they're going to do with them. But he lets her know, if you think you're escaping with those weapons, you're sadly mistaken. If you try to escape with them, we're going to find you and kill you. But Bo-Katan says, oh, we're not stealing them, we're stealing your ship. And that wasn't a part of the agreement that the Mandalorian made with Bo-Katan. She explains to the Mandalorian that there's something that she needs in order to rule Mandalore, something that was once hers but was taken from her. And the Imperial guards know where it is. So she needs to find that information out, but also she needs the ship for the battles ahead. And she tells him, if you want my help finding the Jedi, you will help me take this ship. He tells her, you're changing the terms of our deal. And she tells him, this is the way. Now, while they were squabbling about the arrangement that they made, the captain of the ship got in touch with Moff Gideon, telling him that they've been attacked by pirates. The captain asked for backup immediately, but Moff Gideon says, it's too late for that. It's pointless if we give you backup. He says to the captain, you know what to do. And the captain nods and then shoots the two pilots and points the ship downward because the captain has been instructed to crash the ship. And Bo-Katan and her group realize this. So they quickly try to get to the front of the cockpit. And after fighting off some more stormtroopers, they're able to do this at the very last second. The Mandalorian, along with one of the Mandalorians from Bo-Katan's group, pull the ship back up. But while that was going on, Bo-Katan was busy putting a knife to the captain's throat, and you find out what that item was that was taken from her. She demands to know where the dark saber is. The same saber that Moff Gideon used to cut out of his ship in the last episode of Season 1. She asks the captain if Moff Gideon has it, and the captain says if you're asking, you already know. And the captain, knowing that if Bo-Katan doesn't kill him, Moff Gideon will, ends up committing suicide. Looks like he kind of electrocuted himself. Bo-Katan is pretty pissed off, but the job is done. And she offers the Mandalorian one more chance to join them, but he says, no, I have to get the child back to his people. So she tells him that he can find the Jedi on a forest planet named Corvus. And on that planet, there's a Jedi named Ahsoka Tano. She then thanks the Mandalorian for his bravery, telling him it won't be forgotten, and the two go their separate ways. The Mandalorian then picks up the child from the frog's house, thanks them for their hospitality, and goes to pick up his repaired ship. And I use the term repaired loosely. I mean, this guy just took the Mandalorian's money. It's a real shame. But, mechanics. The Mandalorian, along with the child, then hop in the barely repaired ship and head off to the forest planet to find themselves some Jedi. Thank you so much for watching this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. If you don't see the next video up in the corner, don't worry, I'll get it up in a couple days. Hit thumbs up if you liked the video, hit thumbs down if you didn't, and be nice in the comments section.